artists, and welcome back to art class. What we're going to do with our project this week is we are going to be using one of our color families here for our project. Now, some of these families you should already be familiar with. For example, our primary colors are red, blue, and yellow. Those are our three most basic colors. You can't mix them. But if you take them and mix them together, you can make other color groups, like our secondary colors are violet, orange, and green. But since we already are very familiar with these, we're actually going to be doing our next couple projects, or a couple of them, using these two groups right here, the warms and the cools. Now, what you can see is that these 6 colors right here are the same exact 6 colors in our primary and secondary groups. They're just shuffled around into new color families. For example, our warm colors, you can see they're looking pretty hot and sweaty. They've got fans and cool cups of lemonade and ice cream, because warm is a type of temperature, right? It's warm in the summer. It's warm outside with the sun beating down on you, and these colors make you think of warm things like beaches and hot summer days. Our cool colors are kind of like cool temperatures, chilly, kind of like it is outside right now in the beginning of the fall, and especially in the winter with the snow and the cold weather. And that is our green, our blue, and our violet. They are our cool colors, like cool green grass, cool water, purple colors that we might see more of in the winter. And our next project is actually going to use our cool color family. So let's head back on over to my desk and I will show you what your project's going to be. Come on. We're going to be using our cool colors to make a cool color spiderweb picture. I am going to show you 2 different ways that you can do this project. I'm going to show you the simple way first, and then I'm going to show you a way that you can do it that's a little bit fancier using watercolor paints, if that is something that you happen to have at home. If you don't have watercolor paints, just stick with the simple version. What you're going to need for both of these is you're going to need a piece of paper. If you are going to be doing the painting part, make sure it's a nice thick paper, because notebook paper will not work with watercolor paint. You're also going to need a pencil to draw with. I am going to do this one with a black Sharpie so you can see what to do. And if you're going to do the painting one, you're actually going to need a pencil and a white crayon. Okay, so watch me do the 2 different kinds and you can decide which one works best for you depending on what kind of materials you have at home. So for our simple spider web, I'm actually going to hold my paper. I have my paper horizontally, and I am going to take my marker. Again, I'm using marker just so you can see what I'm doing. I would highly recommend doing this with a pencil first, and then you can always trace over it with a black marker if you decide to do the simple version. If you're going to do the painted version, you're going to trace over your spider web with a white crayon. I am going to just make a mark in the middle of my paper just to help myself out, and I am going to draw some lines going out from this middle mark. You do not have to use a ruler, okay? Spider webs are not perfectly straight in nature, all right? The spiders aren't crawling around with a little ruler going, ooh, I think my spider web's straight, okay? That would be silly, right? So I'm going to draw a line that goes out to this corner. I'm going to make one that goes here. I'll make one that goes down. And they don't really have to be any particular way. Maybe like that. Maybe I might put one more line that goes out the side like that. All right, totally up to you, but you don't want to put too many. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines. If I wanted to add one more, I probably could, but I'm just going to leave mine the way it is. So now you have all of these kind of triangle shapes, and we're going to fill them in with lines. So I'm actually going to do this one over here first. You don't want to put too many lines. If you've ever seen a spider web, they're pretty simple. So I'm going to make a line between my 2. I'm going to make sure that they're touching. And I'm going to make sure the line is a little bit curved, not perfectly straight. I'm going to do 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to space them out. And I'm going to use this to help me do all of my spaces for the rest of my spider web. I'm going to start off with this one. And I'm also going to make 3 lines. And I'm going to start where the other one left off. Just make sure you're following the stripes and the shape of your triangle piece. So now this one here, my lines are going to go like this, and I'm going to use these to help me. Okay, kind of getting the hang of it? Same thing here. So I have this one here. So now my lines have to shift. They're not all going to go the same way. They have to, it's almost like you're cutting it. Almost looks like candy corn. And I'm going to fill in my other three. And there is my spider web. Now, the only other thing I need to add to my spider web is a spider. So you can choose anywhere on your web. With your pencil, you can draw it first and then use your black marker, whether it's a Sharpie or a regular Crayola black marker, or even a black crayon, whatever works for you. And I am going to draw my little spider friend. So for my spider, I'm going to make his body, and spiders have 8 legs. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I will give him 2 little eyes. And then I'm going to color him in. I'm actually going to color him in with a crayon just to make him extra fuzzy. But make sure that you don't color in his eyes. Got my spider. And now comes the fun part. So whatever coloring materials you have, whether you have colored pencils, markers, crayons, I want you to pull out your 3 cool colors. So I have my violet, my blue, and my green. I'm using Crayola color sticks. These are kind of like crayons and colored pencils. And I'm going to use my color sticks to add some cool colors to my spider web. And there's my completed project. I hope that you guys can see it. I've kind of swirled around my blue, my purple, and my green and just filled up the entire space. You could do it like that. If you want to color each of these little spaces a different cool color, you could do that. That's a different way to do it. But I am going to take a moment and show you how you can do this project using some watercolor paints too. For the fancier version of this project, where you can use watercolor paints if you have them, you can see I've already taken my paper, I already took my pencil, I drew out my spider web, and what I'm just finishing doing is taking a white crayon, and I have traced over all of these lines. I still have to do these 2 lines right here. I'm not just lightly tracing, you want to make sure that you get the wax and the crayon down on the paper. So I've been taking my crayon and pressing really hard, scribbling back and forth on these lines. And I have done this on all of these pencil lines. Really scribbling and really getting the crayon down. And now comes the fun part. Again, adding in a spider, definitely doing this with crayon. All right, there's my little spider friend. And now I am ready to paint. So if I grab my water and my paper towels, I have a basic Crayola watercolor palette. You can tell it's been loved. And I have my 3 cool colors right here. I have my green, my blue, and my purple. So I'm going to take a little bit of water. I'm going to do some green first. Get a little green on my brush. And you're going to see that because I put down all of that white crayon, the paint will not stick to it. It bounces right off of it, and you're going to start seeing my spider web coming through. So I'm going to do the same thing that I did with my color sticks, with my crayons before, except this time with paint. And I'm just going to put dashes of my cool colors all over my paper. there you go. That's the second way that you can do your cool color spider webs. So depending on what kind of materials you have at home, you can either do it with a black marker, black crayon, and just draw it and then color in behind it, just scribbling around, filling in the space. Or if you have thick enough paper and you have watercolor paints at home and you would like to try doing the crayon resist, you can totally give that a shot. Remember, in order to do the crayon resist, you really have to press down on that crayon and make sure there's enough wax on the paper so that the paint will not stick to your crayon. If I take this down so you can see it. All right, you guys can see that I had enough crayon down on the paper and the paint will not stick to it. So these are your two options. So totally up to you, depends on what materials you have at home. But either way, have fun, be creative, and don't forget to send me a picture of your completed artwork in the assignment on Teams so I can give you a grade. And I can't wait to see you guys next time. Have fun. See ya.